Hi, I'm Teri Pichot with Denver Center for Solution-Focused Brief Therapy. Thank you so much for joining us for this video series. I'm very excited to be sharing it with you. For those of you who may not know me that well, let me tell you a little bit about my background. I have been a solution-focused brief therapist for the past 25 years. I was first introduced to this amazing model through Insoo Kim Berg and Steve DeShazer clear back in 1995. And even today, I look back at that time period that I was able to spend with them all the way through the end of their career as one of the most important and influential time periods of my career. It completely changed the way I think about therapy and the way that I work with my clients. After I met them, I ran a dual diagnosis treatment center for drug and alcohol and mental health clients, and we used pure solution-focused brief therapy. And I learned very quickly that it was really difficult to find a therapist who really understood what solution-focused brief therapy was in its purest form. Because so often therapists are trained using solution-focused practice mixed with other things like motivational interviewing or strength-based or positive psychology. And when we mix it with other things, we dilute this powerful evidence-based model. So one of the things that I've devoted my career to is training professionals on how to understand what solution-focused brief therapy is in its purest form as it was created by Insoo and Steve. Now, oftentimes you'll hear therapists talk about a new solution-focused practice or something like that, and yet oftentimes when I listen to those professionals, I hear that they're talking about actually how Insoo and Steve really spoke to me about this model. It doesn't sound new to me at all. So I encourage you to really get curious about how this model was really created and what it's really about. Now, one of the things that oftentimes I'm asked for is full client sessions. So that's what we're here to look at today, 4 full client sessions. And in these, you can see the flow from beginning to middle to end, all the way through. Now, originally, when you saw client sessions, these were done using actual clients. And that is how Insoo and Steve did most of their work initially. And yet, even within their time frame, standard of care changed, that it was no longer considered best practice to use actual client sessions in training videos. And they started using actors who would view the client sessions, of course with the client's permission, and then recreate those sessions as teaching tools. Or they would use therapists who have years of experience working with clients so that they know how clients typically respond. And those therapists would play the role of a client. So today, that's what we are using. We are using professionals who have spent so many countless sessions with clients, and they are playing the role of clients. Now, we did it as true to life as possible, meaning that I have had no idea what the presenting problem would be when I sat down with these professionals playing the role of client. And they surprised me just like a real client would. Now, other things that are different in these sessions, you'll see me using a flip chart. Now, normally, of course, I'm not going to use a flip chart with a client, but I'm using a flip chart in these demo sessions because what that represents is the piece of paper that I would be having in my lap that I would be writing on so you can see exactly what I'm writing. The interaction between me and the client where I'm handing them the marker, I really would be handing the client the pen and inviting them to participate with me on that piece of paper on my lap. What we have here are 4 client sessions. The first is by a professional playing a client named Tamara. In this session, she is playing an externally motivated client. So you can see how we can pull the internal motivation even from a client who is there because somebody else thinks they have a problem. Because at the heart of good solution-focused practice is being heart-to-heart with the client, working on what matters to that person in front of me. The second session is from a professional by the name of Darlene playing a client. In this session, you can see how the client gives hints of potential safety issues like domestic violence. And you can see how in this session, I use solution-focused tools and techniques to ensure that the client is safe and do what's called diagnostic scaling. Now, other professionals mistakenly think you cannot do assessment in solution-focused work. However, that's not true at all. We can still stay within the solution-focused model and still gather everything that external providers and referral sources would need to see that we have evaluated in order to know that this client is safe. So this is a wonderful session showing you how I can ensure client safety even with potential domestic violence and safety issues. The third client session is from a professional playing a client by the name of Scott. This is a wonderful session that shows how do we deal with a client in active crisis? How do we balance? How much do we let the client talk on and on as they're in that crisis mode? And yet how do we still hold with compassion, that solution-focused structure, so that we can help the client to move forward, even the tiniest bit? The fourth session is by a professional playing a client by the name of Nick. This session is of a subsequent session. Oftentimes we're asked, how do we keep doing the beginning, the middle, the end when clients are coming session after session after session? So this is a wonderful demonstration that shows that clear description of the beginning phase about what do they want, that middle phase about what do they have, and that last phase about what's next, and how do we do all that without mistakenly going into problem-solving mode. So I hope that you enjoy all 4 of these sessions. I hope that they're very helpful to your learning of this very powerful model. Now, lastly, one other thing that's important for you to know. When we do these client sessions, they're meant to be used in conjunction with other training models. So I encourage you to come to classes, online classes, in-person classes, and then use these sessions as subsequent learning so that you can use them to support your learning and to be able to visualize these principles that we talk about and practice in all of our sessions. So I hope they're helpful. Please feel free to keep in touch and let me know what other questions and other ways I can support your learning.